What's up, guys? That really gross guy here. We are back, and today I promised you guys I would talk about some of the weapon changes coming to Warframe. We are seeing close to 100 different weapons get some kind of buff slash nerfs, mostly buffs, like 98% buffs. But some of those are kind of arguable. Some people think have their opinions on certain weapons as to why they're being changed the way they are, especially when it comes to mastery rank tests. I want to talk a little bit about that, but at the same time, I kind of want to address a few weapons that I think are going to kind of see some pretty decent changes, stuff that we can kind of talk about, as well as I just want to pick your brain on a couple weapons that some people are kind of concerned about. But anyways, I'm not going to go over everything, and even for the weapons I am going to talk about, I'm not going to go into absolute detail on why I think they're good or why they're not or whatever, but I am going to try and touch on a few things that I think is very important for us to kind of consider with these weapon changes. These, I believe, are coming the day this goes up, and some of these are still technically subject to change because they are, this was the last time they talked about the weapon changes, and it is very possible that within the last day or so they tweaked some of these numbers or did a little bit of something. So even though this is going up the day of the weapon changes, just know that this is based on the information from like a couple days ago, just like 2 days ago or something. So anyways, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Stradivar, the Breton and Burston Primes, the Harpak, the Grinlock, Tiburon, Kalstar, Sobek, and the Pandero and Daikyu. Like I said, there are a bunch of other weapons, but these are kind of going to sum up a little bit of the things that are going on with the weapons, and some of them seem to see similar changes to each other, so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But first off, I kind of want to talk about, real quick, the Stradivar, because the Stradivar is kind of an I don't want to say an underappreciated weapon. It's an okay weapon with okay stats that not everyone is too crazy about. I could understand, any one of these weapons could potentially completely change with a ribbon or whatever, but it is what it is. But the Stradivar, we are going to see a increase to the status and crit for both fire modes. So both the single fire and automatic fire, you're going to see some kind of increase in status and crit chances. And actually, I think crit damage as well. But if you want to check the URL down below, you can see those in detail, how much they went up and how much they, when it comes to the single fire, because the single fire went up more than the automatic fire. And then we also saw a decrease in the automatic recoil. So the recoil is going to be a little bit better on the Stradivar itself. There's not too much to say other than that for the Stradivar. I felt like that was kind of a big deal. Stradivar is a good example of a weapon that they're like, we just want to give it a little extra nudge in the right direction, a little bit extra help, and we're seeing that. The Breton Prime and the Burston Prime. Now, I'm going to start with the Breton Prime because the Breton Prime is currently Mastery Rank 0. Well, now today, when the changes go out, it is going to be a Mastery Rank 8 weapon. I am seeing some people say, well, that's like an entry-level prime weapon, and I kind of agree if you were playing the game back when the Breton Prime came out. However, because a lot of these primes are being nerfed, it's kind of hard to argue that any prime weapon specifically is going to be the first weapon someone is going to pick up. They are no longer considered, entry level because you don't have access to them. You're most likely, a lot of these you're going to be picking up in the market for platinum, or not the market, but the trade chat for platinum, or you're going to go farm it if it's available, because it probably won't be available. Some of these will not be available at any given time. So I would actually argue that the Breton Prime is, at the moment, absolutely not an entry-level weapon, because most people, in my opinions, are buying the Soma Prime if they can get their hands on it, or the Tigress Prime. So I think those technically right now are considered entry level, even though you could argue that the Soma Prime is superior to the Breton Prime. When I say entry level, that's just because you can't really get your hand on the Breton Prime without kind of paying a little bit extra just for the sake of having one. And like I said, you'd rather buy the Soma. And in my opinion, I'd rather buy the Soma. But don't get me wrong. I love the Breton. I love the Breton Prime with the right build. The Breton Prime, in my opinion, is very underappreciated. I think it's a great weapon, but it's not a Soma. Anyways, the Burston Prime, same thing. Some people argue that the Burston Prime is very entry level. Well, depends on availability. When it's vaulted, it's technically not entry level. In fact, it's not. You can't entry it at all unless you buy it. So that's a difference. But when it comes to the Burston Prime, which I honestly think isn't the greatest weapon, but it's a little bit underappreciated. People think that just because the regular Burston is pretty garbage, that the Burston Prime has to be absolute garbage. Now, like I said, it's not phenomenal, but we will be seeing it go from Mastery Rank 0 to Mastery Rank 12. Once again, absolutely not entry level if it's going to be Mastery Rank 12, and I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not too crazy about a lot of these getting Mastery Rank all the way up there. However, I get that they're trying to make a lot of these weapons available only at specific times in your process, in your leveling process. The Burston Prime, because it will be seeing a status increase from 15% up to 30%, which is pretty dramatic. That's a pretty dramatic increase in status chance. A crit chance going from 5%, which was garbage, up to 18%, which is alright. That's not so bad. Crit damage is going from 1.5 to 1.8 multiplier, which isn't insane, but it's more. And it's actually going to be able to deal less base damage. It's going down from 39 to 36. Not a huge drop, but it's dropping by 3 points. Now, that's something that I kind of want to talk about, especially when we get into a couple more weapons, is I think with the changes that are coming to like status effects and not necessarily crits, but the fact that we now have like Hunter's Munitions and Argon Scope and stuff like that, DE has had to go back to some of these weapons and go, we either need to nerf this weapon's crit chance or we need to nerf its damage because this is crazy. And while I don't necessarily agree with the nerfs, just because our Soma is a really good weapon doesn't mean it needs to deal less damage. It should deal less damage. I think we need to kind of find something that, is a little bit middle ground, which makes it work, which makes it sought after and makes it, still top tier, but at the same time doesn't like totally turn you off from using the weapon. So, like I said, you'll see more instances where status and crit chance and all that stuff are going to see buffs, but actually the base damage is going to see a nerf. I kind of want to hear your guys' opinions on that, because personally I think what DE is trying to do is they're trying to slow down the process in which players become powerful, so that they kind of are kind of, I don't want to say grinding, but they're kind of spending time in the content that they're playing. So let's say a Mastery Rank 5 person who's only got about 4 or 5 planets unlocked and kind of doing their thing, they, instead of them going and buying a really high level like a Mastery Rank 12 weapon and just blasting through the rest of the content, kind of forces them to slow down, kind of forces them to play the content that's geared for them, and it kind of forces them to also level their mods, really pay attention to the way the mods work, because if you're more reliant on how good your crit chance is and how much your crit damage is, you're probably going to spend a lot less time concerned over your base damage, and you're going to be trying to make your crit damage up to 100%. And it sounds like DE, that's where they're starting to say, well, you can become endgame. You can become endgame because we're allowing you to potentially get your weapons to very close to 100% crit chance, which means your crit damage is really going to be a big deal. Some weapons you basically couldn't use crit damage with. You had to rely on the base damage, and it seems like a lot of those weapons are actually seeing the biggest changes here, or they're just terrible status weapons, and those are also seeing big changes coming up here. And that's because, like I said, I think they're trying to make us focus on an overall build that requires decent base damage, but at the same time relies on status or crit or both in order to kind of be pushing us into endgame content, if that makes any sense. A lot of endgame players could kind of understand what I'm talking about, and if you are, at the point where you are playing, really, really high level stuff, running survivals for a long time, defense for a long time, I want to hear your opinions, especially on why you think that we're seeing all these crit and status changes, even though we're seeing some weapons at the same time receive less damage base damage. I'm curious. I think we'll kind of see eye to eye on that, and I think a lot of the people that are endgame will kind of agree that they're kind of making us mod our weapons intelligently in order to kind of get into end tier content. Like I said, we haven't seen the status changes yet. Who knows what could potentially happen with the status and the elemental changes here in the near future. So maybe they're prepping for that as well. I don't know. But anyways, after the Burstin, I think the Burstin's actually going to be pretty solid after this change. Hopefully. I don't know. And the Harpack. The Harpack isn't seeing anything crazy when it comes to its regular fire, but it's actually going to see a increase in its secondary fire, which is the Harpoon. It's going to go from 50 base damage to 100. It is also now going to do, instead of 100% puncture, it is now going to do 40% puncture, 50% impact, and 10% slash. It's also adding in some status and crit capabilities, so if you're curious about what those numbers are specifically, which, like I said, is only for the Harpoon, the secondary, you can check that out in the dev workshop link below. Next, I'm really excited about this one, the Grinlock. The Grinlock is jumping up from Mastery Rank 5 to 7. However, it is seeing a pretty decent base damage increase from 120 to 187. That's pretty exciting. I'm kind of curious because none of these weapons truly say what kind of damage increase they're getting. Could it be like this extra 67 points? Could potentially be all extra slash, or it could be all extra impact, could be all extra puncture. I'm not sure because the Gridlock is impact, right? Impact completely. Well, not completely, but mostly impact. I'm expecting that it's kind of going to do mostly impact and then some puncture, some slash, whatever. So we'll see. But I'm excited about that because if you guys are familiar with my Mesa, I love the Gridlock. So it's going to do extra damage, like I said, 120 to 187. Its crit is going to go up from 2 times multiplier up to 2.5 times multiplier, which is great because I personally kind of rely on my crit chance on my Grinlock. I use the extra augment for the Grinlock to give it some really good crit chance. So, or crits in general, because the crit chance is only like 66.7%, which kind of irks me, which is why I have to use Argon Scope in my Grinlock. But anyways, besides that, it looks like they're kind of giving it a bit of a buff because we're also seeing it go up in magazine size from 6 to 9, which is great. Its reload speed is going to be increased, so it's going to take less time to reload the thing, and it's going to have better accuracy while you're aiming it. So I'm pretty excited about that. Grinlock, in my opinion, is very underappreciated. I absolutely love the weapon. Now, I know there are better weapons out there, but it's a fun weapon in my opinion, and arguably, it is a pretty solid weapon. It is pretty solid. So, next up, Tiburon. The Tiburon, the one weapon that no one really ever cared to use, probably because it was pretty lackluster when it comes to its status and crits and all that stuff. But anyways, it's going from Mastery Rank 4 up to Mastery Rank 10. Now, if it's going to jump up to 10, kind of going to expect some buffs, right? Well, we got a increase in status from 5% to 15, an increase in crit chance from 15% up to 30. So that Tiburon is going to be potentially knocking out some crit multipliers out left and right. So pay attention to that when the changes come. Crit damage is going to go up from 2 times to 2.3, so you get a little bit of an extra help there. And then it's actually, once again, just like the Burst and Prime, it's going to be seeing a very small base damage nerf. from 25 down to 23. Not insane, but I'm just kind of curious is why? Why? Are they just trying to make sure that these weapons don't end up overpowered? They give it a little bit of a nerf, just a little bit, so that when crit and all that stuff procs, it's not as good as it could be. I don't know. And then next up, the Call Star. This is one that I'm just going to point out would be a good one to go check out in the URL, because there are a lot of changes when it comes to the way just the Call Star works, down to the way it damages enemies. You're going to want to check that one out if you're a fan of the Call Star. The Sobek. Probably the... It's very underappreciated in my opinion. I think the Sobek is a very great shotgun. Yes, the other ones are probably better. You could argue that they're better. Tigress far superior in terms of direct damage output, but when it comes to the Sobek, I think you'd be surprised at how strong you can make this thing. Especially, I think it's Acid Rounds is the name of the mod that you can add to it. That thing can put out some damage. But the Sobek is going to now become a mastery. It goes from mastery rank 4 to mastery rank 7 now. It's going to have an increase in status. Thank you, DE, from 15 to 27%, which I'm so excited about because I like the Sobek. Like I said, I think it's underappreciated. It's going to see an incredible crit buff from 10% all the way up to 11. That's right, 11% crit chance. And then its reload speed is this is what I'm excited about. Its reload speed is going to go from 4 seconds, 4 long seconds, all the way down to 2.7. Which I think is great because the Sobek has a cylinder, like a magazine cylinder, and it takes you 4 seconds to install that thing on a shotgun. The other shotguns I think at this point could be loaded singles, faster than 4 seconds. Man. Anyways, that's probably with some mods, but anyways, Sobek is gonna probably see a comeback. I'm telling you guys, that Sobek, give it a shot. Give it some mods, give it a shot. And the last two that I'm just going to kind of quickly mention is the Pandero and the Daikyu, because people are saying these look like nerfs. Thank you, DE, for not touching the Euphona Prime, because I'm a big fan. But the Pandero looks like it's seeing a nerf. I don't have this. I didn't really want to write down the stats because I think you guys should kind of judge for yourself how you feel about the Pandero and the Daikyu, because they're seeing slight buffs, but other nerfs that you're like, oh, that kind of hurts. That, this may do more damage, or it may have extra crit or status or whatever, but if you implement this little deal, I don't know how I feel about that. One example is the Ac Magnus. The Ac Magnus are going to see large damage increase outputs. However, it's going to see a pretty significantly slower fire rate. Now, they are magnums, so, I dare you to pick up 244 magnums, one in each hand, and fire them rapid fire as fast as you can, because you're going to bust your wrists. So I get it. They're magnums. They should deal quite a bit of damage. I kind of understand that they're going to see a little bit less fire rate. Not too sure how I feel about it because I don't have my hands on it yet. I'm skeptical. I'm going to be honest. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be happy with the changes on them. But if they're going to drop enemies in one shot, you know what? Who cares about fire rate? I don't need a second shot. I might as well just point and click at the next enemy that's coming around the corner, I don't know. But check out the Pandero, check out the Daikyu if you're curious, because they're seeing buffs and nerfs within their stats, and people are arguing that they are buffs. People are arguing that they're nerfs. I think more people are saying they're nerfs, but we'll see. But that's going to be it from me. I'm kind of curious what you guys think. At the same time, I want to give my opinions when it comes to kind of quick. I think there's a lot of people that are, mastery rank 20 plus, even if they're not necessarily high mastery rank level, they just have a lot of time in game, and it's been a long time since they have played, played as a new player. They have experienced the challenge of not having mods, not having, forma, not having frames, that are maxed out. And there's a lot of people that are being very vocal that have not played the early content in ages. The reason why I say that is because there are plenty of people that are saying, oh, kind of like I was talking about the Burston and the Bratton. People are saying, oh well, even though those are prime, it's kind of has to do with the same thing. People are saying that those weapons or the resources or whatever, they're like, oh well, you're making this, this weapon far inferior or way too good for where it is, or you're making the resources too difficult to get. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of people that have not seen the changes to early content, that have not actually had the chance to farm certain stuff. Because, for instance, when I first started playing the game, back when it was just, alpha, just early beta, it was like I would kill for a max serration. I would kill for a decent, a max, max point strike was the way to go. But there was no Argon scope, there was no hammer shot, there was no, hunter munitions especially. There were a lot of these mods didn't exist, and a lot of the resources didn't exist. A lot of the weapons didn't exist. So when I was playing through the very beginning of the game, I would kill for, a regular Soma. People think the regular Soma is absolute hot garbage right now, and it is for a late game player, but new game players, that's their pride and joy, is their regular Soma with a a level 2 point strike and and a Argon scope that they just bought for 700 plat, and they, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, guys. I highly suggest anyone who is kind of a little bit, hasn't really, I don't know. I don't want to say hasn't had fun in the game, because that sounds pretty terrible. But if you're feeling a little burnt out, or you really want to kind of understand the early game, start a new profile, get in there, start playing from scratch, and start realizing how long it takes to get some of these high level mods. Start realizing, I don't want to say how bad the grind is, but start trying to think outside the box. I personally, I'm going to put a thing in the outro. There's a video coming out the same time this one is. I'm actually going through the entire game. Or I'm gonna start a brand new profile. I'm gonna challenge myself. I'm gonna take off the hood, so I'm not gonna be able to see my health, ammo, energy. I'm not gonna be able to see anything. Where my objectives are, where extraction is. I'm getting rid of all of that off my hood. I'm not gonna see my cursor, so I don't know where I'm aiming. Getting rid of all that. I'm gonna play solo, 100% solo, and I'm riding solo. Okay, sorry. And I am also going to be 100% free to play. So the only way for me to buy anything out of the market is if I earn platinum through stuff I earn in game. I challenge anyone that is, like I said, burnt out or wants to kind of get an idea, especially other content creators. If you guys are like, man, I've been outside the loop for these early game players. I really want to connect with some of these players, that are just starting the game or whatever. I highly suggest starting a new profile and struggling again. It's humbling and it's pretty nice. I've started to gain more respect for the stuff I do have, and how long it took me to get them, because I know that now that I've started a new profile and I am mastery rank 1, I'm not going to have my hands on a lot of these weapons. I'm not going to have my hands on a lot of these mods. I don't even think I have an undamaged serration at mastery rank 1. I definitely don't have a decent flow. I don't have a decent intensify. I don't have any prime mods. So give it a shot. Anyways, that's going to be it from me. I'm curious to what you guys think. I'm curious if, number one, you agree or disagree with any of these mods, or you think some of these mods, or these not mods, but these changes should be changed beyond what they are now. And I'm curious if any of you are going to actually consider, starting up another profile, especially you guys that have been around here for a while. You don't have to stick with it. You don't have to, play all the way up until you're, master rank 25 again. But I challenge you guys to at least play through, a couple quests as a new player and kind of see how will you struggle. You don't got a Soma, you don't got your Argon scope, you don't got your prime, flow or your prime continuities. You're as basic as it gets, and yeah, see how you feel. I'd love to hear your stories. Jump on Discord. Let me know how it is, or just in the comments, whatever. But I'd love to see you on Discord. I have some plat to give away. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to do it, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hope to see you guys again soon. That's all I'm going to say. Until next time, blow.